Now to the latest developments in New Zealand. It is clear the heartbreak and shock in Christchurch will take a long time to dissipate. The picturesque South Island city is still reeling after a massacre at 2 mosques more than 4 kilometers apart during Friday prayers. 49 people died, dozens more hurt, including children. It's after 3 a.m. on Sunday morning in Christchurch. These are pictures taken by our CBC News team on the ground. They show that despite the early hour, people continue to flock in the darkness to makeshift memorials to the victims. Victims whose identities in many cases are not yet known at this point. But those lives, nevertheless, are being celebrated. Adrienne Arsenault, co-host of The National, is part of our team on the ground in Christchurch. She filed this report on the numbing effect this tragedy has had on residents there.
If you were here, you'd be able to tell just by looking at them, by standing in the overwhelming perfume of them, that these flowers are incredibly fresh because this trauma is incredibly fresh. It is brand new to Christchurch, brand new to New Zealand. The messages that you see here are the echoes of what the politicians have been saying. Our home is your home always. They are us. This is a time where there still are not a lot of answers for the people here who desperately want them. Not all the bodies have been removed from the mosques. The Red Cross has a terrible, panicky list of the people who are considered missing. These are people from all over the world who came to call New Zealand home, whose loved ones fear that they might have been in that mosque, one of those 2 mosques, and may have been hunted, and they're still trying to identify them and find them. In the hospital here in Christchurch, there are 39 people still being treated. 11 of them are considered in big trouble. They're in intensive care at the moment. So there's a lot of anxiety here. The only person who's been charged with a crime here so far is an Australian man who appeared in court today. Interestingly, the images of him that were released by orders of the judge, his face was blurred. There is certainly no desire to give him any sort of spotlight or platform in this country, nor is there a desire to talk about studying gun crime here. The Prime Minister, who has been reaching out to people quite forcefully, has been saying, look, gun laws will change in this country, period. She is considering floating a ban on semi-automatic weapons. She's concerned that all of the weapons were purchased legally. Some of them may have been modified. She is looking at ways that can possibly change. In the next few days, the Muslims in the city say they are desperate to get back to their mosques. They want and need a safe place to pray, especially right now. That's difficult. The police have not been able to release the mosques yet, and so some of the churches are saying, we know it's not the same, but the doors are open. Please come in, and we will be here with you while you pray. It's a gesture from strangers who, in this moment, just don't know what else to do.
As we learn more about what happened during those shootings in Christchurch, amazing stories of heroism are starting to emerge. People who risked everything to stop the attacker and those who made the ultimate sacrifice so that others could escape. Tasha Fatah joins us with more on that. Let's start with a man, the first to be identified, and his story.
That's right. So this is the story of Daud Nabi, 71 years old, originally from Afghanistan, and came to New Zealand in 1977 to get away from the ongoing war in his home country and build a better life in this brave new land. And so he does. He raises a family there. His children live there. He works and experiences a good, safe life. And even in his retirement is very active, very positive. He was the president of the local Afghan association in his community, active in the mosque. And it was at the mosque during Friday prayers, and Friday, of course, being the holy day for Muslims, that's when he gave his life in the service of his faith, because the gunman walked into the Al Noor Mosque, started shooting people, and what we understand from his family members and from witnesses is that Daud Nabi threw himself, a 71-year-old man threw himself on another congregant to save that individual. But as a result of his heroism, he was shot fatally and lost his life. And you know, we've been talking about him quite a bit this morning, John, and can't emphasize this enough. When you flee a war-torn country, even if it is now more than 40 years ago, you don't anticipate something like this type of violence that unfortunately so dominant in other parts of the world, to find its way into your mosque in Christchurch, New Zealand, of all places. But unfortunately, that's how he's lost his life. His son is upset. He went to the court when the suspect was being arraigned, was very angry, spoke to American media. His daughter took to Facebook and offered a softer tone to remember her father, and her note said, "My father gave his last breath to the people," and to the people meaning all of us, to the congregants of the mosque. So an incredible life lived, and sadly, a life lost.
We are going to continue. There will be 48 more stories of people who lost their lives. We're also going to hear stories of heroism, people who lived but could well have died. What do you know about that?
So remember that this is the story of two mosques, and now our report is the story of two heroes. One sadly lost his life at Al-Nur. Abdul Aziz at the Linwood Mosque, 48 years old, survived. And his story is just incredible, John. I don't know how many of us would be brave enough to do this. So the suspect comes to the mosque, starts shooting. He's there with his sons. He tells the sons, go back inside. The kids are saying, no, come with us. Daddy said, no, I'll be fine. He picks up one of those credit card machines where you have to put in your push pin number. He picks that up to use as a weapon with the suspect, who, remember, is armed to the teeth with rifles. He chases him. The gunman is shooting at him outside the mosque. He hides between cars. Abdulaziz is hiding between cars while a suspect, a terrorist, is shooting at him. He dodges the bullets, whips the machine at the guy. So he starts running. The suspect runs, gets into his car. As he's running, he's dropped one of his guns. Abdulaziz picks it up, tries to shoot him. There's no bullets in it. Launches the weapon at the suspect's car, shatters his window. The suspect swears at him, drives away. Abdulaziz is still chasing him down the street. Once he's out of sight from the car, he goes back to the mosque and tends to his loved ones and his fellow congregants and helps save them. Naturally, everyone is calling him a hero. He says, no big deal. I think anybody would have done the same thing. But really, I mean, you don't need to watch like a superhero comic movie. You just need to watch an interview with this guy. It's unbelievable.
And who knows whether that smashed window was something that alerted police when they were pursuing the car later. That would be something you'd watch for if someone had been shooting out of a vehicle. Earlier, we were joined by Dion Swiggs. Now, he's a city councillor in Christchurch. Both mosques attacked were within his riding. We asked him how the community's coping.
The communities are telling us, they're broken. They are devastated by this terrorist attack on our city. This is something that we don't expect to have happen in our city, and it has. And really, we are now sort of trying to work with our communities to sort of make sense of what's happened, but also support them through the grieving process. And it is really challenging.
How does this square with the image that the world has, and I would imagine folks there have, of New Zealand as being such an idyllic, peaceful place?
This is a real shame that this has happened. And the thing is that this person wasn't even from New Zealand. He came to New Zealand to do this attack. And he has done that to us in Christchurch, a city that is recovering from the earthquakes. And that makes it really difficult in its own right. But this is an unprecedented hate on our city, on our people, on the Muslim community of our city, who are our people. And the message I want to send to the world is that we are still a safe city, we are still a safe nation, and we will be fighting this hatred, because we will not let this define who we are.